Hello, everybody, and welcome to our webinar, How to Create a B2B Networking Session. I'm really glad to have you here, and I am quite happy of being able to have you in our webinar. This has been a webinar that we have been planning for quite a while, so this is a very good news that we have here in Eventtia. I'm going to give a few seconds for the other people to come to the webinar, and we'll start in a few seconds. Right. So I see that now more people are coming, and that's very, very good news. I am glad that you are able to attend and that you will receive all this information that will be quite useful. So right before starting, I would like to give you a small poll, which is the question, have you made networking events with Eventtia? I would like you to go ahead and vote. Whether you have made already a networking event with the B2B matchmaking tool that we have, or the networking module, as I also call it, or if you haven't. So please go ahead and vote. I like to know a bit about in which stage we are, so I can predict some questions and be able to know what can we wait. All right, thank you. I'm going to share the results. So around three-fourths of the people that are today at the webinar have not made networking events with Eventtia. There's some other people that have made it, around one-fourth. So that's good. That's good. It's good for you to be able to learn how to make a networking event and be able to, of course, use all the functionalities that we offer in Eventtia for the networking events. So I won't give it a more delay in order to award your punctuality, and we'll get started. So again, welcome everybody to how to create a B2B networking session. This is a free training from Eventtia. This is our first webinar of this type of how to create B2B networking. And I am your host. My name is Santiago Castillo. I'm the Customer Success Manager of Eventtia. If you need anything, you can contact me at santiago@eventia.com. And I'll start giving you the webinar structure so we can take a look at what we're going to see today. So we're going to first have an introduction of what is B2B matchmaking, what is a registration form, a networking form, the networking space in Eventtia, the register and the login. How can you check the attendees dashboard? So that would be the first part. Then we're going to go ahead and build a B2B session. So we're going to apply that all into a B2B session, which is what you're going to be creating, in which we'll give a name to the B2B session, a location, some dates, some time slots, and the meeting duration. Then we're going to create, in the third step, the networking profiles, also with the name of the profiles, with networking forms, time restrictions, meeting notifications, and business categories. We're going to head up later to the attendees view. We're going to check how's the login, how's the attendees dashboard, how to request, accept, or reject meetings or cancel meetings. And then we're going to go to the admin's view, which is your view, in which we will check the participants functionalities that we have and the list of participants and so on, the book meetings, and the free slots, which are three of the sub modules that we have on the networking module. Finally, we'll have some time for the Q&A, for some questions and answers, and we'll head up to conclusions. So right before starting, I'm going to tell you that we have a chat here in which you can send me messages and send messages to everybody. I'm going to say hi. You can use this chat in order to send messages or communicate or ask any questions. And we also have a Q&A session, which is also on your bar. That's down in the bar. You will be able to click on the Q&A and you will be able to make any questions that you have for me. And I will be able to answer them live for all of you. So you can all get the same answers. We're quite a few, so I'm expecting some good Q&A session, and I'm going to try to have as much time as possible for that, because I know that you will probably have some specific questions and I will be happy to answer all of them. So let's go ahead and start with our introduction in order to be able to understand everything, right? By the way, I'm going to start this webinar with the base that you already know the system of Eventtia, like the website, the registration module, and so on. If you don't know it, it's okay. You can still see the webinar and see how it goes with the networking. But you have to know that there's some steps that had been done before in order to create the event, in order to create the attendee types, and so on. So that's an important thing to say. That's an important disclaimer. And we're going to start as if we had already had our attendee types, as if we already had our registration form set up and all the part of the registration module and the website. We're going to act as if that already existed for your event, and we're going to focus in this. If you want to learn how to create an event with Eventtia, you can attend to our webinar, How to Create an Event in 30 Minutes. Actually, we have one tomorrow. And we also have one tutorial that basically gives all the information of the webinar, but it's just you don't have the interactiveness. But you can check that on, and that will help you out with the other stuff if you feel a bit like, okay, but I don't know what is the starting point. So my starting point is that, just so you know. Let's go ahead and do this. So first of all, we're going to see as the introduction, the B2B matchmaking tool. What are the registration forms, the networking forms as well? What is the networking space? We're going to check how to distinguish the register and the login, because that's important. And we're going to see an attendees dashboard. I'm going to show you all of this in order for you to be able to understand how it goes. Because just for your information, so basically we're going to start in the introduction here in the presentation. Then we're going to go to Eventtia to build the session and to create the profiles, which is the admin's view. Then we're going to see the attendees view, and then we're going to see again the admin's view. So you know that we're going to show you also what your attendees are going to watch, which is the most important, because in the end your attendees are the ones that will be making that the B2B matchmaking platform is successful or is not in your event. And I hope that it is successful. So let's do it. Okay, so first of all, I'm going to say that I will use the words networking, matchmaking, and B2B mainly as synonyms, because they're very close. Networking is a bit broader as per the definition. Networking is something you can do not only on the platform, but you can do it on the streets or in other places, and it doesn't necessarily need to be business to business. Our networking is very based on the B2B matchmaking, which means you have businesses that want to meet with other businesses. However, by businesses, that can also mean government agencies and public development agencies. It doesn't necessarily mean to be the private sector, but more like a formal networking, not like I just met somebody on the street. Okay, and then matchmaking would be because our platform lets you the opportunity to make matches, to make to make different meetings. So to match the different people of the networking session with a system in which you can ask for different meetings without or at least knowing which are the timeframes that you have, so you are not ahead of the other time frame, or you are not outside of the time frames, etc., etc. And of course you can customize this quite a lot in Eventtia, but it's important to know that it's mostly made for that. All right. So I'm going to give you the strict definition so you can have it. So B2B matchmaking is a networking dynamic based on enabling the attendees to schedule short one-on-one meetings during the event with those people who are important and relevant for their businesses or careers. Your guests have the absolute control over the networking dynamic, this way being able to build truly meaningful relationships at your event. Of course, have the absolute control, but at the same time you can overview all of these, and you can actually do some stuff for them if you see that they are not doing or behaving the way that you want them to behave, in the sense of making the meetings, accepting, rejecting, etc. And I'll teach you how you can do that. So this is a platform in which they have the opportunity and the control to make their networking dynamics and to make their matches, but you can also have a secondary control over what's going on and what they're doing between each other. All right. So now, being a bit more practical and more to the point, this is an example of the registration forms for the people that are going to register to networking. So you're going to have a normal registration form, which is the one that you create through your attendee type, which is in the registration module, where you will ask for the details of the person. This is for the person, let's say for Santiago. And then you'll have the networking form, which is rather for the company, let's say for Eventtia. So instead of asking, let's say, what's your position or your budget here in the registration form, it's better to ask it down here. Because also, if you have some information that will be useful for the other people in order to ask for meetings, such as what is your annual budget, or such as what is your portfolio of services or of products, etc., etc., it's better to put it in the networking form, because you can actually make it public to everybody. So when I go into the profile of the person, I will be able to see the information that you ask for in the networking form. So if you have a networking, it's important to make the difference between the registration and the networking form, because this is more corporate and the registration form is more personal. All right. So, for instance, if you're going to ask for the ID of the person, it's in the registration form. But if you're going to ask for the ID of the company, or the registration for the Chamber of Commerce, or etc., well, that would be better in the networking form. All right, and then you're going to have the login info section, which is the third one here, and this is always going to appear. So it's always going to appear these four things: the company, because it's important to know which company you're representing; the logo, which you can make mandatory or not, but you can always be able to upload the logo. And actually, you're going to see logo is going to be quite useful. And the username and password, which are the credentials, the identifications that that the different people are going to create. This is a creation. This is not something that exists, because sometimes people ask me, I don't have a username and a password. I don't know. I tried putting my email. So it's not about it. They're going to create one in order to access the Eventtia system. So it's very important for you to communicate that for your attendees. Username and password is nothing they have already. It's something that they're going to create in order to do the second step, which I'm going to explain you in a few seconds. So you're going to put the username and the password, or the person, the attendee, is going to put that, and they'll have to remember that. You'll also have the tag networking login info, in which you can remember the attendees, which is their networking login info, through a communication or through the welcome email or through the success registration message, if you wish. So we have three parts: registration form, networking form, and login info. The registration is going to be done clicking on this type of box, which is going to say the registration. It's going to say which is the ticket type. In this case, we're going to have buyers and providers, and it's going to say the price if it has one. And then the person is going to be able to register. Why do I have buyers and providers? Because it's the easiest way to explain it. You can also say buyers and offerers, or buyers and um, yeah, providers, and people who offer, however you'd like to put it. Also, not always you need to put buyers. You can put any name that you want, but it's important to be clear who is offering and who is looking for. In this case, buyers are of course looking for offerings, and providers are offering their services. And I'm going to explain you the case for this specific example that I'm going to give you in a few minutes. And then this is the login. So it's important to make a difference between the registration and the login. In the registration, the attendees are going to fill up the registration form and are going to fill up a username and password. And then in the login, they're going to put that username and that password in order to access the networking space. The networking space is going to be the space where they're going to ask for meetings, where they're going to accept them, where they're going to have their agenda, where they will print them. So it's basically the space where they can do everything in their own personal or corporate module. So that's a big difference. Some people make the registration and then they think that in order to access the networking space, they can come here again. And it's not like that. They'll have to come to login. And it's going to be quite more clear. If it's not clear for you yet, it's going to be quite more clear as I go ahead and show you more. So please keep up with me. And if you have any questions right away, I can answer them right away in order to have everything clear. Because now we're going to go to the next step, which is build a B2B session. All right, so this step is actually going to be in the platform. So we're going to just start a quite new B2B session with name, location, dates, time slots, and and meeting duration. So I'm going to come here to my website, or to Eventtia's website, and I'm going to sign in. So I'm going to put my username and password of Eventtia and sign in, and I'm going to see and be able to check the different events that I have done. In this case, I'm coming to this B2B matchmaking event, which is going to be June 25th to 26th, 2020. So as I told you, I already made all of this. I already put up my registration types here, etc. So, so you know that. Um, and I have my dashboard here. In my dashboard, I'll be able to check the networking specific information on the scheduled meetings. I'm going to see the attendee types, and I'm going to see the other important information such as register attendees and ticket sales. But here it's quite important for you, the part of the scheduled meetings. All right. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go here to this module, this tab, that is the most important one for you because it's the networking module one. So everything is it's going to happen here after you had already set up the basic information and attendee types for your attendees. So we'll get started with this. So we're going to create a new networking session. So we come here to networking. It's quite easy. Click on networking and then click on new. And we're going to build it. So we're going to give a name to that. I'm going to say it's a networking session. We can give a location. I'm just going to say it's on the main room. You can put your sender name and email account. So you can change this. You can have, for instance, an email for the whole event, for the success, for the welcome email, for instance. It could be my email, customersuccess@eventtia.com. And then for this one, you can have a specific one for the networking session. So it could be B2B networking@eventtia.com or whatever. You are going to put the start and end dates. In this case, I'm going to do it on the start and end dates that I have in my event setup. My event is going to go from the 25th of June 2020 from 9 a.m. to the 26th at 6 p.m. So it's going to be 2 days. And then I can put the meeting schedule stops on. This means that after that time that you're going to put there, people will not be able to request more meetings. They will be able to accept or reject them, but they won't be able to request more of them, which is quite important as well. We're going to say that, let's say that normally we can do this maybe 1 or 2 days before the event. So people have already moved everything on the platform and so on. And speaking by dates, normally what we see is that it's always good to launch the networking session and the registrations 3 or 4 weeks before the event, and then have 1 whole week, maybe 2 weeks before the event, for the attendees to make the meetings. So they have enough time to request the meetings and people have enough time to accept and reject them. And then on the last week, 2 or 3 days before the event, you can stop the scheduling and ask them to accept or reject any meetings that they haven't done yet. And then once you have done this, you will either select their location or ask for Eventtia to create the algorithm to assign the tables. So that's kind of a time frame that I can give you. You also have all of this in a document that I'm also going to share with you, so bear with me. And so, for instance, this is going to be on the 25th of June, and I'm going to say that it's going to finish on Tuesday. So actually on Monday, so I'll say Tuesday midnight. So they have all Monday to make the last meetings. And the meeting duration will be 20 minutes. Um, Another thing here is, so normally we see that most of our events are 15 minutes plus 5 minutes kind of to move on from one table to another. So we highly recommend the meeting duration of 20 minutes or 25 minutes. That works quite well. And it's important to be for you to know that you should put the time frame taking into account the time of the people sitting down and also the time of the people moving from one table to another, because that's also going to be important for you. All right, so we're going to save this and voila, we have created, it was quite quick, we have created a B2B session. So we gave a name, the location, date, time slots, and meeting duration. That's good. It took us 5 minutes. And now we can go ahead and create the networking profiles, which is our third step on this whole process that I'm showing you. So this is a bit more long, a bit longer, and we're gonna take a look at this. So once you have saved this networking session, you will be able to see that there are 5 or 6 more tabs that we're going to explore. And the most important one for the setup is the networking profiles tab. So in this tab, you're going to be able to create the networking profiles based on the attendee types that you have. In order to do so, you have to click on start creating your participant types by clicking here, and that will open up the first networking profile. So remember that we have in the registration types, we have 2 types, buyers and providers. I'm going to call them the same, buyers and providers. And I'm going to create the 2 different networking profiles so I can associate one to the buyers and then the other one to the providers. If your networking is a bit different, you will be able to put 2 or 3 different attendee types into the same networking profiles. Because sometimes, for instance, people want to put by countries. So they want to put sellers from USA are one attendee type, from France is another attendee type, and from Colombia is another one. And then they all are sellers, so they all are inside the profile of the sellers. And then the same way with the buyers. So this is important for you to know, and I'm going to show you where would you do that. You will actually be able to select multiple attendee types down here. But let's go ahead and start here on the basic part. So we're going to give one name. In this case, let's start by the buyers. We can give an additional price for the networking. If you're going to ask for more price for the networking additionally to the price that you set up for the attendee type, so to the registration price. We're going to put the start date and the end date of this specific networking profile. Why is this? Because some networking profiles might be for one day and the others for the 2 days and the others so one's for the first day, one's for the second day, and then one for both dates. In this case, we're going to make it simple. We're going to have both dates there as well. I can select if I need location in order to be able to give a specific location, such as a stand, to my attendees or to my networking participants. So I can say networking participant X is on table number 1, Y is on table number 2, and Z is on table number 3. Otherwise, you can ask to help at Eventtia.com to assign random locations based on the number of tables that you have. So that's the needs location one. Can block time slots. This is important to differentiate from time restriction. I'm going to later show you more about time restrictions, but basically time restrictions are for everybody. So like if you have a lunch, that's a time restriction. Can block time slots means that the participant can block certain time slots inside his agenda only for him. So for instance, if I know that my flight is coming late and I won't be able to make it to the first 3 meetings, I can block those slots so nobody asks for meetings on that time frame for me. But if your event is basically mandatory to accept any time frame, then you can leave it as it is. If you want them to be able to block time slots, you can select it. Later on, you can select the attendee types that you're going to use. In this case, it's buyers. So I'm going to connect buyers networking session to buyers here. And you can select the business categories, which are or enabling. So the business categories, we're also going to create them. But here you can enable to search by I'm offering or looking for in the cases where it is not that easy to know which is offering and looking for. In this case, it's quite clear that the buyers are offering, that the buyers are looking for and the providers are offering, but you can still put it if you want. So I'm looking for mode because buyers are not offering. All right. So once you're done with this, you just click on save and you'll have your networking profile. There's this thing that's going to appear, this little space that's called can request meetings to. And we're going to do this in the end, but basically this is in order to know who can request meetings to whom. So there are certain events in which buyers can also request meetings to buyers because they might be interested in something else that the buyers sell. In this case, we're just having some buyers that buy and some sellers that sell. But otherwise, you would be able to do it in a different way. Meaning that you will be able to make buyers be able to connect with buyers and with sellers, or only buyers with sellers, or maybe buyers can't connect with anybody else because sellers are going to be the ones who ask for the meetings. So it really depends on your event. In this event, we're going to say that buyers are asking to providers. And this is the time to present you the topic and the case of this event. So we have buyers and providers. And in order to make it easy and simple to understand, buyers will be hotels that are searching for fast food chains that will be able or that will be available to set up, let's say, put a stand or put a commercial place, a restaurant in their hotels. And providers will be fast food chains that are available to put those stores on the hotels. This is in order to make it quite easy. So in this case, buyers are hotels, providers are fast food chains. And we're going to see a bit more about that, but this is in order to be able to create the networking form. So in the networking form, I already told you it's by default that you'll have the option to put the logo, that you'll have the company, and then you'll have to create username and password, which is all of that is by default. But you can also put different questions, as I told you, that can be important. So let's say I want to require the participant logo. That's good. I can save this. And then I'm going to create some more spaces in order to ask different information for the people of the networking. In this case, it's for the buyers. So I'm just going to ask, let's say, for a drop-down list in which I want to know what is the annual budget, because that might be important for the people who want to make the different meetings with the providers. So I'm going to say, what's your annual budget? I'm just going to say it's $0 to $10,000, 10,000 to let's say $100,000 and $100,000. I'm just going to divide this by the points in order to have this clear. So, and this one would be $1 million. Yeah, so I have 100 $100,000, and I'm going to put here $100,000 to $1 million. Okay, so that's going to be quite clear. And then I'm going to put here $1 million plus. I'm going to put a comma. Remember that to divide the different values, you have to separate them by commas. I can ask this to be required, meaning that this is going to be mandatory. And I can also ask to filter by this field. In this case, a drop-down list is quite useful because if you put a text area, they can put the exact budget, but you cannot filter that. So for instance, if I'm a provider and I want to know the buyers that have between $100,000 and $1 million, I will be able to filter that and only see in my space the ones who have that value that I entered. And this can be also displayed field on public profile means that if I'm searching for the person, if I open up the information of the company, I will be able to see this. If this is some information that is not important for them or that's confidential, you can just not make the display public, so you have that information but the other people won't have it. Okay, you can also require it or not if people won't have the option to not fill it up. So then you can click on save, and here you'll have it. You'll be able to select the options that you divided by commas. So that was quite easy. Um, Basically, you have the same options as in the attendee type registration form. So you have text field, text area, drop down list, multiple selection. You can ask for city, for an image, for a file, for you can put a label in order to give some information. It's quite common also to ask for files and upload a portfolio of products or something like this. So you just click on this, but it's required. Filter by, no, you won't filter by this field because all portfolios would be different, and save it. And people will be able to check the portfolio of the products and download it and so on. I'm just going to delete this one. And okay, so that's it for the networking form. And then let's move on for the meeting notifications. Meeting notifications, there's not a lot that you will be able to do here because this is quite by default, but it's quite good because you don't really need to move this anything. So here you can change the title that is going to appear on the email. So new meeting request from X person is the by default title, but you can say hello, or yeah, like hello first name new meeting request or something like that. Um, and then the people will be able to click here to confirm or reject the meeting. You also have the meeting acceptance email, which is the meaning that if you ask for the meeting, you receive this when the person you asked the meeting for has accepted or confirmed your meeting. So you'll receive this. Your meeting has been confirmed. And then you also have the meeting rejection email, which means that my meeting has been declined, and that I'll open up that space again to make other meetings. So we have those three: request, acceptance, and rejection. And you will be able to set up time restrictions as well. So as I told you, time restrictions are the time frames in which nobody will be able to make meetings. Because when you click here on general information and put the information, the system is going to create 20-minute meetings on all the different time frames from the start date to the end date. So from 9 a.m. on the 25th to 6 p.m. on the 26th. So for instance, I'm sure that people are not going to ask meetings on the night. So I'm going to put a restriction from 6 a.m. on the 25th to 9 a.m. on the 26th. So there's no opportunity to ask for meetings after 6 p.m. on that day and 9 a.m. on the next day, because of course people will go to home and rest or will go to the hotel. But you can also use it for lunch, for instance. So for instance, on the 25th, you're going to have lunch from 2 p.m. No, let's say from midday to 2 p.m. So you can put this restriction. There's one here, and you can put another one for the 26th because you're going to have a lunch break on both days at the same time. So on the 26th from 12 to 2, 26 from 12 to, sorry, it's not selecting it. Now it is from 12 to 2. So I have 3 time restrictions. On the night from 6 p.m. to 9 a.m. On the first day, the lunch break from 12 to 2. And on the second day, the lunch break from 12 to 2 as well. So these are the time restrictions that I have for my networking profile. And then once you have done this, you're going to go back to networking profiles and make the same process again, but for the providers. All right. So it's exactly the same. And then once you have created the providers, you're going to have here buyers and providers. So on buyers, you're going to select buyers can request meetings to providers and vice versa on providers. By the way, also there's something important here. If your event is not mandatorily, it's not mandatory to participate on the B2B networking space, you can make the optional registration, you can put it on, so people can determine whether they want or not or don't want to participate on the networking space. So I can save this because I'm just going to leave it off. And that's it. And then as for the categories, that's quite easy. You can put different categories in order to be able to filter easier. I'm just going to put here fast food chains and hotels, just so you can check them. How do they work? In this case, it's quite easy. So normally these categories are, and they I'm looking for, and I'm offering for modes. They are more useful when you have events in which it's not a very easy to know who is looking for, who's offering, in which sector they are, and so on. In this case, to make it simple, you just have fast food chains and hotels. Hotels are looking for, and fast food chains are offering. But here I can put these 2 categories in order to show you how you will be able to see them. So this is how you set it up, and that is the whole process of setting that up. The only thing that will lack here would be to create the other profile and set it up, but creating the other profile is exactly the same for providers as it was for buyers. So let's get back to the presentation. So we already created the name and general information of the networking profiles, a networking form. We already set up the time restrictions. We already checked and saw how the meeting notifications worked, and we already saw how to set up some business categories. So it's quite clear in that sense. In this moment of the event, you would have already created the B2B networking session, and now you will be able to launch it off. And after you launch it, you'll be able to check up how the networking is going on, which is going to be the 5th step. But the 4th step is going to be, so you launch it, how are your attendees going to see it? So let's say now I already created everything. I have my buyers providers. I have all set up. I am going to launch it. So I'm going to send that communication. So I click here on communications, mass emails, and I send that communication to my participants that are on the networking session, and I put them the networking login info, and I invite them to register to the networking and create their username and password. So they will do that, and then what's going to happen after that? That's what we're going to see on step number 4. Okay, so my attendee already filled up its information, created, put his logo, the name of the company, created a username and a password, and now they want to start making the different meetings and start requesting them and start accepting them, etc., etc. So now we're going to have an active networking in the networking space, and we're going to see how it looks. So first of all, they're going to go to the login. This login could be in your website. This login could be in a link that you created. It really depends on how you want it to communicate it, but it's very likely going to be on your website, and it's going to appear like this, login. You can change this name to networking or matchmaking or whatever you'd like, and people will put their username and the password that they created on the registration form, and they're going to log into the system. And when they log into the system, they'll see 3 different sections. The first section they're going to see is going to be the IBIS style. This is the logo, the My Profile. So the My Profile, in this case, it's the IBIS Styles Hotels. This is a buyer. So I'm going to say it here, my style, IBIS Hotels, My Profile. If I click here, I can change anything on my profile. So I can change the logo, I can change the name, I can change the email, I can even change the registration information that they filled up on the registration form, even the personal information. So this is my profile. The second section that I will see is my agenda. In my agenda, I will see the date, the accepting meetings, and the meetings to be confirmed on that date. And the next date, if I have more than one day, the accepted meetings, and the meetings to be confirmed. So in this case, he has accepted 3 meetings on June 25th, 1 meeting to be confirmed. And on the 26th, he has just accepted 1, and there's no meetings to be confirmed. And you can also have the third section, which is the participants. We're going to see each one of these sections right now. So first of all, my agenda. So remember, if I click on my profile, I'll be able to change my information. This is just, I'm going just to see the registration form. So this is quite easy. Now we're going to see my agenda and participants. So first of all, my agenda. When I click on my agenda, I will be able to see both dates here, June 25th and 26th. And I will be able to, if I deselect this unavailable, I will block the time slot, which is what I told you. Let's say I'm going to come late for sure on the 25th because of my flight. I can say I'm not available and nobody will be able to request meetings on that time frame. Otherwise, I'll leave it as it is. And then I will be able to see which meetings have been confirmed. So for instance, this meeting with Burger King, I'm IBIS style, so restaurants are going to ask me for the meetings. So I have Burger King, I have already confirmed the meeting to Burger King, to Pizza Hut, and to KFC. And Taco Bell asked me for a meeting, or better, I asked for Taco Bell for a meeting. So Taco Bell is going to accept or reject that meeting. I can also cancel it here, and I can also cancel the meetings that I have already accepted if I have any issue. Okay? So as you can see, it's going to appear on blue if he's available. On gray, it's going to appear if he's not available. In yellow, it's going to appear if I'm waiting for the participant's confirmation. And in purple, it's going to appear if the meeting is confirmed. And if I want to go to the next day, I just click here on June 26th and I'll do it. By the way, if I want to print my agenda up here, I'll see the button print agenda and I'm going to be able to print it. That's quite important because most of the participants want to have their agenda handy. So that's good. And it's going to be a PDF, by the way. Okay, so what else we're going to see? Then if he clicks on participants, so remember that we have here participants and my agenda. So my agenda, we already see it. Now we're going to see participants. So if I click on participants, I will be able to see which are the participants that I can look for. So I will be able to see Taco Bell, Pizza Hut, KFC, Domino's, Burger King, etc. And I will be able to use these filters here. So I can search for the company name. I can also search for the country, see if they have free slots at certain times. And in this case, see, I created the networking space called what is your annual budget, so I can also filter with that. So that's going to be quite useful in terms of the networking form because you can create it for any one of the issues that you want them to filter by. So that's quite useful. And then if you want to request meetings, then you're going to click on request meetings to whoever you want to request meetings to. If it says not available, it's going to be whether they block the time slot or they already have a meeting. You will be able to click here and request meetings. You will be able to put a meeting request message. By you, I mean the attendees. So the attendee can say, hi, John, because he's John Howard. Hi, John, I would like to have a meeting with you. And he can put some more information of the company, like we have been working already with Taco Bell and we really love it, etc., etc. Or we have this specific budget. And then after they put the message, they're going to request it. That message is going to appear on the meeting request email. And then when the person accesses their system, they'll be able to go to their agenda. So here they're in my agenda. They'll see that this person is waiting for an answer and they can accept the meeting, or if they click on cancel, then they'll reject it. So you just click on accept and that's it. It's going to appear as if the meeting was accepted. And then on our final part, on our fifth step, we're going to see the admin's view. So we already created the B2B session, we already launched it, and people already started making meetings and making their management of their time slots. And now we as the admins, so again, you guys, are going to be able to see the admin's view and check the participants, how are they moving on, check their book meetings, and check if they have free slots. So let's go ahead, let's come back and go ahead and check that. So we're gonna go back here to networking, and we're going to open up the networking session, which is the same exact setup that I showed you, but this one is complete. These are the profiles. As I showed you here, if you open it up, providers can meet with buyers and so on. This is important for you guys because sometimes you think that there's something going wrong, but it's really that you have not um, set this up well. So we have the profiles here. We have the categories, the same categories, fast food chains and hotels. Now let's get into these three tabs: participants, mood meetings, and free slots. So in participants, you will be able to see who are the participants that are in your event, and you will be able to filter them as well using the search and reset options. So first of all, you can search by company. So let's say I'm searching for Hilton. I can search for Hilton and I'll see Hilton here. I can reset it and see everybody else again. You can search by country. So let's say I'm going to search for companies in the States. So I have 3 companies in the States. I can reset again. Or you can search by participant type, which in this case is quite useful. So you can see, okay, how are my buyers going on? You'll see that these are all hotels. And then you can see how are my providers going on and see which are the hotels. And here you will be able to see how they are going on, like a little dashboard, seeing which meetings have been accepted, which meetings have been rejected, and which meetings are requested and are pending for acceptance or rejectance. So in this case, for instance, Taco Bell has 6 accepted but 1 rejected. KFC has 5 accepted but one rejected. And then if you want to see the details, you just click on the profile and you will be able to see which are the details. And then as for the categories, you can click here at the add, so you can put specific filters. So I'm going to say which fast food chains are offering and apply that filter and then search. In this case, there's no register for that. So this way you can also put what are they offering and what are they looking for. Okay, which participants are offering fast food chains, which participants are looking for hotels, etc., etc. So let's say that I want to search for the buyers and see how they're doing. And I have here some meetings. So I would like to know which was the meeting that IBC Styles Hotels rejected. So I click on the profile and I'll be able to see which were confirmed and which were rejected. Okay. So in this case, they have all of this confirmed, but the rejected one is going to be the one that, I mean, they already rejected it, so it won't appear here, but they have rejected it. So if you go to another one, you can click, let's say, on Burger King, and you can see which have been accepted of this and see the different dates. You can also print their agendas in order to hand them on if they're on the event and they have no way to print them, or if you're going to print them for them. So the agenda is going to show the log of the event, the different attendee types, so a provider, the name of the company, the name of the person, and the email, so the information of the person. You can also send them an email, and you're going to be able to check the agenda per day. So as you can see here, she has a meeting at this time frame, then another at this one with Intercontinental, and then this time frame with Westin, with Holiday Inn, with Hilton, and you can also check the locations that you have, and so on. So that's it for the agendas. And you will be able as well to request meetings for themselves. So you can say, okay, I'm going to request a meeting from Hilton to Burger King. Hi, dear Maria, I want a meeting. And you can, with you, please, best. And you can put your name, Santiago. And then you can also ask whether you send the email or not, because if you don't want them to, to receive this information, then just don't send the email. But if you want them to accept it, then send the email, and you can request it so she accepts it, or request it and confirm it from your side. This is something that only you can do as admin. People cannot request and confirm for the others, but you can because you're the admin. So you can just say, let's say, don't send email and request and confirm, and that's it, in that specific time frame. Okay. Okay, so that's it for participants. Then you can also see how are the book meetings going on. You can check the status of the meeting, the companies, and the participant types. So let's say I want to say, okay, Subway has which meetings. I search, and it's going to appear the meetings. But I can also say, okay, I want to know which buyers have rejected meetings. So I can search this, and I'll be able to see the 2 meetings that have been rejected by Hilton and Ibis Hotels, and also which providers have requested meetings. So in this moment known, all of them are accepted. If you see accepted, then you'll see that there are a total of 33 meetings that have been accepted here. Then you can reset, and that's it. By the way, this is also quite useful. You can export that to Excel, and it's going to export the kind of the screenshot of where you are. So if you're here right now, you'll see 35 meetings. You can export all of them. But if you just want to export, let's say, the rejected meetings, you can export those ones too by clicking here on the export to Excel little button. And then you can also search for free slots, so you can determine which is the buyer, the participant type that you want to select. So you can say, okay, I want to know the buyers that are free from 4 to 4:20 p.m. on the 25th. And you search, and these are the buyers that are free at that time. And let's say you want to search the providers that are free from 10 to 10:20. You can search, and only 3 providers are free on that time slot. So that's also a way in which you can search for the different setup and the different meetings that they have acquired or not. So as you can see, I'm going to reset this. As you can see, this is going to be these are going to be very important tabs for you, because you can search for the participants, for the book meetings, and for the free slots. And this is going to help you set up everything for your event. This is going to help you if you see that they're not being very active. This is going to help you to activate them. And this is going to help you as well to see how it is going on every minute that's passing in which the networking session is activated. So that's it for the admin's view, which is quite important, and for what you're going to see and how you're going to set up everything in your networking events as an admin, which you are. So now I'm going to go ahead and give you some Q&A time in order for you to make any questions that you have, any specific questions, or if you want to be as specific as you want, you can. I'm very happy to answer your questions. Please make them. So we can do this Q&A session, and then we can go ahead into the conclusions of this webinar. So I'm all ears, or in this case, I'm all eyes, because you're going to make them through Q&A or the chat. But by the way, if you want to make them via the microphone, you can also raise your hand and I'll allow you to speak. Do you have any questions? You can write here in the chat. Maybe you can say, I don't have questions, or it's so clear, if it's okay for you. I'm gonna say hi again. And while you make any questions, I'm just going to put, to show you another last thing that it's going to be quite useful for you. So basically, we made this webinar based on a PDF guide that we created for you guys, which you can access on the help desk. If you click here on the help desk, you will be able to come here to Eventtia knowledge base. You can search a knowledge base for whatever you want. And in the welcome kit, you can open planning your networking events. You can open this PDF, a quick guide to planning your first B2B event, and you can open this. You can download this PDF. So it's going to open. You can, of course, download it in your own computer and send it to whichever person that is also helping you or that's also interested in learning how Eventtia networking platform works. And here you'll be able to see step by step how you can plan your first B2B event. So actually attending to this webinar or watching the recording of this webinar and using this PDF guide, this is going to be very, very useful for you guys in order to understand how this works. This has a lot of details. It is almost as detailed as this webinar. Of course, in the webinar we can speak more and we can have more questions, but I'm just giving you a quick view of how it is so you can check this guide. It's going to be quite useful for you guys, so please feel free to do it. I'm going to post here as well a tutorial for this B2B webinar, and you can also access this specific webinar if you want something here in webinars. Most of them here are how to create an event in 30 minutes. You'll just have to search for how to create a B2B session, or just search it here, and that's it. You're going to see it. Okay, I have a question here. Okay, no, it's not a question. Actually, it's Marie-Louise Harbeck from Canada. Thank you, Marie-Louise. She says it's very clear. Thank you. Merci à vous. So, okay. Thank you very much for your feedback. Felix is raising the hand. Felix, do you want to talk? I'll allow you to talk if you wish so. If you want, you can activate the mic. If you don't, it's okay. If you want to ask by microphone, or if you want to put the question in the Q&A, that's good. Maybe you're just giving it a try. Alex, or you can ask here. Okay, Felix made a question in the chat. If you want to speak, I can give you the microphone. I can give you the floor. Otherwise, I am going to disable the talking right now. Okay, Santiago says, thank you, Santiago. Thank you to Santiago for attending. You're a great client. Okay, being it so, I'm going to come back here to Eventtia, and I'm just going to launch 2 last polls for you to tell me if you like this. So I'm going to launch the poll. The first one is, would you recommend this webinar to a colleague? You can vote. I have a question from Felix in this moment, so I'm going to answer it right after the poll, Felix. Don't worry. We still have a few minutes, and your question is quite quick to answer. I have some people who haven't voted. Please vote. If you would recommend this webinar to a colleague, you can say yes, you can say no, you can say maybe. I won't show this publicly for you guys. It's just for our feedback. And if you have any feedback, please give it. You can send me an email and we'll work to make it better. Thank you, Pierre. I believe you're French too. Merci, Pierre. C'est un plaisir. Okay, I'm going to end this poll and I'm going to answer Felix's question, which is, how can I filter participants by country? So it's very easy, Felix. I'm going to show it to you here. So when you come here to participants, you're coming to this module, you can put a country and you can select the country. So let's say we have some French people, let's say we're going to put France, and we click on search, and you'll see which are the companies that are from France. Or you can put, let's say, Colombia. We're based here in Colombia, so that's why I give Colombia as an example. You can put search, and you'll see the companies based in Colombia. And you can also say, okay, I want the buyers from Colombia. So you can click on Colombia buyers and search, or you can even say, I want the buyers from Colombia that have a budget from $100,000 to $500,000. You can search that, and you'll be able to filter that. So you can really make specific searches. And if you have a B2B event that is more than 50 or 60 people, it's going to actually be very, very useful to do this. You can do this, and your attendees will be also able to do this in their networking space. Okay, Felix, I think that's quite clear for your question. That's how you filter by country. Thank you for your question. Thanks everybody for your questions. We have reached an hour here, so it was quite less for me. I really enjoyed giving you this webinar. This has been something that we have been planning for more than 1 month. So I'm happy that you came here. Thank you very much for attending. Thank you very much for your questions and for your attentiveness. And I'll guess I'll see you later. I'm going to post this on the webinars knowledge base section. This is going to be also on YouTube if you want to search it. And you can also use the guide. And yeah, I'm pretty sure that this is all going to help you quite a lot to set up your networking events. Thank you for using Eventtia for your networking events. And I hope to see you later. I hope to see you quite soon in another webinar from Eventtia. We have one tomorrow in English. If you wish so, you can also write to me and I'll register you for that. It's going to be at the same time, 10 a.m. CST. So this same time that we had today. And that's it. So thank you again very much. Talk to you later and cheers. Have a nice day.